Good afternoon and welcome. Today we are going to discuss one of the most important issues in the modern world economy, the status of the US dollar as the world's leading reserve currency. The dollar's status has developed due to a number of historical, economic, and political factors that have determined its dominance in the global financial system. In this video, we look at how the US dollar has achieved this position, the benefits and challenges associated with its status as a major reserve currency, and possible scenarios for its future development. History of the US dollar. Even before independence, the colonies used various forms of money, including Spanish silver coins known as Spanish dollars. These coins were so popular that they became the basis for the design of the first US dollars. After the Declaration of Independence, the Continental Congress began issuing continental dollars to finance the Revolutionary War. However, due to overissuance and a lack of proper collateral, this money quickly depreciated, leading to inflation and a loss of confidence. In 1792, the Coinage Act was passed, establishing the US dollar as the national currency. The first silver and gold coins were minted that same year. In 1873, the US abandoned bimetallism, backing the currency with both silver and gold, and adopted the gold standard, which stabilized the currency and increased its value. The Great Depression of the 1930s forced the US government to abandon the gold standard domestically, although external convertibility was maintained. This allowed the government to pursue a more flexible monetary policy to deal with the crisis. At the Bretton Woods Conference in 1944, it was decided to peg the US dollar to gold $35 per ounce and other currencies to the dollar. This made the dollar the world's primary reserve currency and cemented its leading role in the international financial system. In the 1970s, pressure on the dollar from US balance of payments deficits and the growing number of dollars abroad led to the abandonment of the gold peg. In 1973, a floating exchange rate system was introduced, giving the dollar even more freedom and responsibility. Major reserve currency. This is the currency that central banks and other financial institutions use to hold their international reserves. This currency is considered stable and reliable and is therefore chosen for international settlements and as a hedge against economic instability. The major reserve currency is also used to support the value of national currencies and to provide liquidity in international financial markets. Currently, the major reserve currency is the US dollar, which accounts for approximately 60% of all official foreign exchange reserves in the world. The euro, Japanese yen, and British pound are also used as reserve currencies, but their share is much smaller. Reasons for the dominance of the US dollar. Economic factors. US economic power. The US economy is the largest in the world in terms of nominal GDP. The stability and size of the US economy make the dollar attractive for international settlements and reserve holdings. Liquidity and availability. The dollar is widely used in international trade and investment, making the currency highly liquid and available in world markets. U.S. financial markets. Deep and developed U.S. financial markets, including stock and bond markets, attract investors from around the world, strengthening the dollar's position. Political factors. Geopolitical leadership. The U.S. has significant geopolitical influence, which increases confidence in the dollar. Countries around the world often hold their reserves in dollars, relying on the economic and political stability of the U.S. Sanctions policy. The ability of the U.S. to impose sanctions on countries and organizations that violate international norms also promotes the use of the dollar in international payments, as many countries fear being cut off from the dollar system. Institutional factors. Federal Reserve System, FRS. The Fed's credibility and independence as the central bank of the United States provides stability and predictability in monetary policy, which builds confidence in the dollar. Bretton Woods System. The decision to peg the dollar to gold and make it the primary reserve currency at the Bretton Woods Conference in 1944 laid the foundation for the dollar's dominance of the post-war global economy. U.S. monetary policy and its effect on the dollar. The monetary policy of the Federal Reserve System, Fed, directly affects the value and stability of the US dollar. The main tools of the Fed's monetary policy are managing interest rates, controlling the money supply, and regulating inflation. One of the most important tools of monetary policy is changing the federal funds rate. This rate determines the cost of borrowing for commercial banks and indirectly affects all types of lending in the country. An increase in the federal funds rate tends to strengthen the dollar, as higher rates make dollar assets more attractive to investors. A decrease in the rate, on the other hand, weakens the dollar as borrowed funds become cheaper, which can stimulate economic activity but also cause inflation. The Fed also conducts open market operations by buying and selling government securities bonds. Buying bonds increases the money supply, which theoretically should weaken the dollar as the money supply increases. Selling bonds, on the other hand, reduces the money supply, which strengthens the dollar. In practice, however, the effect can be more complicated because open market operations are often conducted in conjunction with other monetary policy measures. The Fed aims to maintain a stable rate of inflation, usually within 2%. To do this, it uses an inflation targeting policy. If inflation begins to exceed the target rate, the Fed can tighten monetary policy, which usually results in a stronger dollar. If inflation falls below the target, the Fed can ease policy, which can weaken the dollar. Petrodollars. Petrodollars is a term used to describe the revenue received by oil exporting countries from the sale of oil for US dollars. The term originated in the 1970s when most oil exporting countries began to demand payment for oil in dollars. This led to a significant increase in the demand for US dollars in world markets, especially in countries dependent on oil imports. Petrodollars are important for a number of reasons. Strengthening of the dollar. The petrodollar system keeps demand for US dollars high, which strengthens the US currency. Investment in the US. Dollars accumulated by oil-producing countries often return to the US in the form of investments in US assets, such as government bonds, stocks, and real estate. Economic impact. Petrodollars play a key role in the global economy, representing a significant portion of international financial flows. Impact of the US dollar on the global economy. The dollar's dominance has both positive and negative effects on the global economy. Stability and certainty. The use of the dollar in international payments provides stability and predictability to economic activity. This is particularly important for developing countries, which can rely on the dollar as a hedge against inflation and economic shocks. Dependence on US policy. Countries that use the dollar as a reserve currency are dependent on the monetary policy of the US Federal Reserve System. Changes in interest rates or other policies can have a significant impact on national economies. Dollarization. Some countries switch completely to using the dollar instead of their national currency. This phenomenon is known as dollarization. While it can stabilize an economy, it also removes a country's ability to conduct an independent monetary policy. Alternative reserve currencies. While the dollar remains the leading reserve currency, alternatives have emerged in recent decades. The most notable contenders for this role are the euro and the Chinese yuan. The euro was introduced in 1999 and has become the second most important reserve currency. The yuan, although limited in circulation, is also growing in importance due to the growth of the Chinese economy and Beijing's efforts to internationalize its currency. Other currencies, such as the British pound and the Japanese yen, also play a role in international settlements, but their share is much smaller than that of the dollar. Digitalization of finance. The introduction of digital currencies, both public, such as China's digital yuan, and private, cryptocurrencies, is creating competition for the dollar by offering users more convenient and cheaper ways to conduct transactions. Decentralized financial systems, DeFi, also offer an alternative to traditional banking services, which could reduce the global economy's dependence on the dollar. In addition, changes in international regulation needed to adapt to new digital currencies could affect the dollar's status as a major reserve currency. Technical failures and cyber threats also pose risks that could undermine confidence in digital currencies and financial systems. However, the US has several strategies to address these threats. One is the development and implementation of the digital dollar, CBDC, which will maintain control of the financial system and counter competition from other digital currencies. Strengthening cybersecurity and defending against cyber attacks are also priorities to minimize risks. Geopolitics in the US dollar. The U.S. also uses its control of the dollar as an instrument of geopolitical influence. U.S. sanctions policies are often aimed at restricting certain countries' access to the dollar system, which allows Washington to pressure other states to comply with international norms and subordinate themselves to U.S. interests. However, there are several challenges and threats to the dollar's dominance. There is growing competition from other currencies, such as the Chinese yuan, which is gradually gaining popularity in the international arena. In addition, some countries are seeking to reduce their dependence on the dollar by entering into bilateral trade agreements in their national currencies. The second such challenge is the activities of international financial institutions, such as the BRICS New Development Bank and the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. The BRICS New Development Bank was established in 2014 by Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. The bank aims to finance infrastructure projects and sustainable development in member countries. The bank provides alternative financing that can reduce the country's dependence on the dollar and international financial institutions controlled by the West. The Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, AIIB, established in 2014 at the initiative of China, also aims to support infrastructure projects in Asia. The AIIB provides financing for large projects that could reduce the region's dependence on the dollar and traditional Western financial institutions. The two banks represent an attempt to create an alternative financial architecture that could weaken the dollar's dominance in the global economy. Their role could grow in the future, especially if they can compete effectively with traditional institutions such as the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund. Economic crises and the future of the U.S. dollar. Global economic crises, such as the 2008 financial crisis, have a major impact on the position of the dollar. In times of instability, investors often turn to the dollar as a safe haven, leading to an appreciation. However, crises also reveal vulnerabilities in the U.S. economy and financial system, which can weaken confidence in the dollar over the long term. The future of the U.S. dollar remains uncertain. Long the world's most important reserve currency, it now faces serious challenges. These include increased competition from other currencies such as the Chinese yuan and the euro, as well as potential geopolitical changes and the development of digital currencies. The dollar can maintain its dominance if the U.S. continues to strengthen its economy and geopolitical influence. However, if these challenges intensify, its role in the global economy could diminish. In either case, the U.S. must be willing to adapt and cooperate to maintain the stability of the global financial system. As the world's reserve currency, the U.S. dollar plays an important role in maintaining stability and confidence in the global economy. Despite challenges and alternatives, its dominance is maintained due to the strong U.S. economy, developed financial markets, and political stability. The future will show whether other currencies can seriously compete with the dollar or whether it will remain a key element of the global financial architecture. Thank you for your attention, and see you in the world of finance.